Travis is a 7-figure-a-year Amazon FBA seller, and he's been doing e-commerce for over 8 years. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to start your very first Amazon business, and we're going to be going over some of the most crucial tips that you should know as a new seller.
And I got 7 steps for you on how to start your Amazon business. But first, I think it's important to talk about the benefits. And I will be honest, I've been doing e-commerce full-time for 8 years. I quit my corporate job about 8 years ago, and I was depressed. I hated my corporate job, so I wanted my freedom, and that's why I decided to do e-commerce. And I've tried a lot of different ways to make money online, and by far, Amazon FBA is the easiest way I've found to make a legitimate passive income business. And I'm gonna share some numbers really quick that I think is fascinating about Amazon. So first off, Amazon is like a $1.6 trillion company. It's a huge company, and they do a lot of money in revenue every year. And if you can sell a product on it, you can make a decent amount. And one thing that's interesting is right now, about 50% of all online sales happen on Amazon. And something else that's interesting is only about 12% of all sales that happen online. There's a lot of room for growth in this area. And I think because of COVID, there's gonna be a lot more sales that are happening online. And most of the sales that are happening on Amazon are from people like me, people like Michael as well, third-party Amazon sellers. I think it's 2/3 of every sale that happens on Amazon is from a third-party seller like Michael and myself. So this is a great way to make money. You can get a piece of this pie. And keep in mind, the reason I think Amazon FBA is such a great opportunity is also because it's a passive income source. And the way that Amazon FBA works, and FBA stands for Fulfilled by Amazon, is you take your product, you send it into the Amazon warehouse, and when you get a sale, Amazon picks it, packs it, and ships it out for you. So what that means is you could be in Bali, you could be in Thailand, you could be traveling the world in Europe, and your business could still keep running. You don't need to be actively sending out product. You don't need to actively be working on it, because once you establish your product on the Amazon website and you send your product in the warehouse, you don't need to keep working on it. That's why it's a passive income business. And I'm gonna be honest, it does take some work. I'm not saying it's a get rich quick scheme. It does take work to establish your business, but once it's up and running, it's just a machine that prints out money. And for me personally, I've shared this with Michael, for me personally, it's allowed me to make money, to travel around the world. The last few years, I've basically been able to live my dream life. I've traveled for weeks, months on end. I've been able to move to my dream location, which is in Santa Monica, really close to the beach. And I've done a total of, I think, $1 million or so in revenue for a total of $300,000 in profit from just one product. It's very easy to start and run an Amazon business. And I'm gonna be sharing the 7 steps I have to actually start and launch a product on Amazon. So, yeah.
So let's just say that Amazon sounds like a great opportunity for you. What would the first step be in starting a business?
So the first step, as you know, and so really quick, Michael's actually a student in the course. That's how we met. And the first step is finding a great product. And I'll talk about how I found my product, or if you want to talk about how you found your product, we can go into depth, but there's some general rules. And there's some things you should look for in a good product. One is you want a product that's relatively small and that can be shipped. Because remember, Amazon is all about e-commerce. It's all about sending products in the mail. So I tried shipping at one point a glass jar filled with nut butter, which is a macadamia coconut cashew blended nut butter. That's my main product. And it didn't work out very well because it actually ended up leaking. And some people ended up receiving broken products. So you want to find a product that's small and easy to ship. I also recommend finding a product that's a premium product. Don't try to compete on price. Don't try to be the cheapest one out there. Try to have the best, most expensive product.
What's also important when you have a slightly more expensive product is that you can stand out as a more premium brand relative to your competition. So it's a really good idea to focus on investing in your brand image and your logos to make sure that you look like a legitimate business.
And when you are a more premium product, you can get way more profit. If you're trying to compete on price, it's basically whoever can have the least profit wins. But if you're trying to be the best out there, like my product, it's 10 pouches, 10 1-ounce pouches for $27.99. That's really expensive for nut butter. I mean, you can get a jar of 16-ounce peanut butter for $6, but I'm not competing against them. I'm in my own category. And so when you do have a premium product, you can have really high margins. Like my profit per unit is more than it costs for a jar of peanut butter. My profit per unit is like $10 profit. So you really want to have a premium product. And the last thing I'll share for me personally, the most important criteria I look for when trying to find a product is it something that I'm passionate about? Is it something that is scratching my own itch? You want to find a product that doesn't exist in the world that you wish existed. Now, this is debatable. A lot of people in the private label space would say that no, just follow the money. Whatever makes you money, that's what you should do. I say whatever makes you money and you're going to enjoy working on. Because remember, it's not a short-term get-rich-quick scheme. You're potentially going to be working on this business for the next 3, 4, 5 years, maybe the rest of your life. So pick a product that when the going gets tough, you're going to keep pushing through. There's lots of times I wanted to quit with performance nut butter. I've had my manufacturer scam me. I've had my Amazon account suspended. I've had all kinds of crazy things happen to me. But because I loved my product so much, I kept pushing forward. And so that's one of my biggest recommendations is find something that you're going to love and enjoy working on.
So I have a quick question for you, Travis.
Sure.
So as you're trying to find something that isn't quite popular yet, a lot of the tools that exist on Amazon right now to do product research mainly look at search volumes right now. So how do you find things that will be popular in the future?
So Wayne Gretzky, the most famous hockey player of all time, people asked him, hey, how come you're such an amazing hockey player? He said, because I don't skate to where the puck is, I skate to where it's going. And that's the same thing that's true with entrepreneurship. If you're looking, and that's I think what you're alluding to, if you're looking at what the search volume is for products right now, you're not seeing the bigger picture. The question is, what are they going to be 6 months from now, a year from now? And so there's a few different ways that I do this. One of the most popular ways, or one of the easiest ways to do it is Google Trends. You can see on Google Trends how much search volume is your product getting over time. For instance, for my product, I was looking at the keto diet. And the keto diet, when I first started, the search volume was pretty low, but I could see it was on an upward trajectory. Within a year or two of launching my product, it had blown up. And so that's how I knew that this was going to be something big. And even going in a little bit deeper, you can get your pulse on what are influencers talking about. What are the things that maybe it's in your local small grocery store, your health food stores. Doesn't have to be health food stores. Whatever, the small different influencers that in the spaces that you're interested in, what are they talking about that there's not yet a product for? Now here's a pro tip, actually. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. Contact those influencers and say, hey, I'll partner with you on this product. I think a lot of people want to do this on their own. You don't necessarily need to do this on your own. I think it's very helpful to have a partner. So Google Trends is one of the most powerful ways to do it, but it's also just keeping your finger on the pulse of society. I saw for years before I launched my product that the pendulum was swinging. It was very much like this whole idea that fats are bad for you, because when I grew up, it's like, oh, fat makes you fat. And I saw that, no, that's changing. People are talking about the Atkins diet. People are talking about, they were starting to talk about the keto diet, the paleo diet. Healthy fat was going to become this popular thing. And I saw this trend and I was able to capitalize on it. Yeah.
So let's say you have a good product in mind. How do you go about making that product?
Oh, we might have to save that for a later step if that's okay with you. That's like step number 4. Because to me, one of the biggest mistakes Amazon sellers make is they don't properly create a product launch group or create some kind of an email list. So let me talk about this a little bit. You don't want to just launch a product on Amazon out of nowhere. And I know, Michael, you kind of did that a little bit, and that's okay. Like, that's the typical private label way of doing things, but there's a better way. So when you have a product and let's say you think you have a good idea, test it first. Before you ever launch it on Amazon, my opinion is you want to test it. How do you test it? Start social media for that product. See if you can get people to give you their email. And what's cool about this is as you start social media, you're getting followers. As you start an email list, you're getting emails. And this is going to come in handy around step 6 or 7 when you actually launch on Amazon, because what you're going to do is all those people on social media, you're going to tell them, I just launched my product on Amazon. All the people on your email list, you're going to email them over and over again saying, the product's live, make sure and go buy it. Because the way that Amazon works is the more sales and the more reviews you can get within the first week, the first 2 weeks, the first month, the more sales you're gonna get. So you launch, Amazon puts your product at the bottom of the search results, you start getting sales, it starts putting it up, you start getting reviews, it starts putting it up even more, and it's a snowball effect. The more sales you get, the more reviews you get, the more higher up on the search engine you are, the higher up on the search results you are, the more sales so it just keeps going. So highly recommend getting a product launch group. And one other important thing about this is if you have an Instagram following, if you have so when I keep saying a product launch group, what I mean is a Facebook group. Get all the people that are following you on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or wherever you want to do it, and get them to join the email list and get them into a Facebook group. Now, why a Facebook group is so powerful is you can start asking your potential customers, hey, what do you think about this logo? which of these 10 logos do you like? And that's what I did with Performance Nut Butter. I showed them 10 different logos and said, which one's the best? And they picked. They said, I like this one. So my potential customers were telling me exactly what my product should look like. And this is important for a number of different reasons. One is it's a focus group. You're getting your actual customers to give you feedback on what they would buy. But two, you're getting them really connected to you and connected to your brand and your product. Because when you go to launch the product, it's not just your product anymore, it's their product as well. It feels like it's part of a community. And the reason that a Facebook group is so helpful is that it's not just like an email list where it's like some big overlord talking down to the peasants. A Facebook group is a community. And you can say, hey guys, I want your feedback. And someone can post feedback and someone can reply to their feedback and discussions can happen and everyone's on an equal playing field. So it makes it feel like you guys have all started this company together and they're gonna wanna support you. And another way you can test your product before you ever pay for manufacturing, which is gonna be answering your question in the next step, before you ever pay for manufacturing, let's say you don't have any money. A lot of people come to me and they say, I don't have any money, how do I start an Amazon business? And here's the truth, it takes money to start an Amazon business, but it doesn't take any money to start a Kickstarter. So you can do a Kickstarter in Indiegogo, some kind of crowdfunding, raise the money that you need for your production run. And this also really important, is it validates that you have a good idea. Because when you have an idea for a business, everybody says, wow, that's such an amazing idea, I would buy that. And then you know what you say to them? You say, cool, it's available on Kickstarter, give me 20 bucks, please. And most people will be like, oh, never mind, it's not that good of an idea. Actually, that's the real test. Will people give you money? So to me, it's first you see, will people follow you on social media? Then you see, will people give you their email on social media? Then you see, will people interact in the Facebook group? Then you see, will you actually give me money for my product? And you've done all this without ever spending a dime. And that's the smart way. That's what high-level entrepreneurs do, is they test things. They don't just like go all in and guns a-blazing. They test things along the way. So, yeah.
So a quick question about Kickstarter. Let's say we want to start our Kickstarter, but we don't have our product because we haven't manufactured the product yet.
That's totally normal. Yeah.
How do you get people to understand what you're going to be selling in the future?
Yeah, so to me, it's almost like arts and crafts. So what you're doing is creating mock-ups. So for my product right here, Performance Nut Butter, I didn't have a box. I didn't have the actual product. So what I did is first off, I made it in a food processor. It's like, again, an arts and crafts project, just throw my ingredients in there, made it in a food processor. And then the other part is I took existing competitor products and I just printed out stickers and put it on top of the box. And no one noticed. I took pouches, the pouches that go inside, took those out, put stickers on top of it. No one's like, excuse me, that doesn't look like a finished product. It's Kickstarter. They know that it's not finished yet, so it doesn't matter. I'm working on a bunch of other products. For instance, Ariana's product with Vino cards, same idea. We took an existing product that had nothing to do with Vino cards because there's nothing that existed like wine flashcards out there, put stickers on top of it, and nobody notices the difference. So hopefully that answers the question.
That's great. So let's say that we have our Kickstarter, we're ready to go. How do we get our product manufactured?
Yeah, so that's the next thing. So let's assume that you've had a successful Kickstarter. And you want to find, there's a lot of parts to this. There's finding the manufacturer, there's actually dealing with the manufacturer, like how to contact him, and then there's getting it finally manufactured, sending over the wire, getting it shipped over, and we'll tackle all these. And I know you know a lot about this too, so I don't want to minimize your input into this, but finding a manufacturer isn't as hard as you would think, and working with a manufacturer isn't as hard as you would think. And something I always like to tell people is remember, manufacturers' entire business model is around trying to make it as easy as possible for you to find them and work with them. They don't make money unless people can find them and work with them. So they make it easy. I was so nervous the first time I did a production run with Performance Nut Butter. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing it. And they're like, cool, that's fine. Just give us money and we'll make it for you. I'm like, oh, okay. Like that's a fair trade. So first thing is, if you have a product that you want to be made overseas, Alibaba. All the way. You want to talk a little bit?
Sure. Alibaba is a place where you can find your own manufacturer or supplier from China, and you can easily reach out to them and understand how much they're charging and how many you can actually order.
Now, one thing that's really important to note about Alibaba, that a big mistake a lot of people make, there's actually a lot of mistakes, but one of them is realize that they can customize things. a lot of people think that you have to only private label, that you have to buy exactly what they have there. You actually did this with your products, right?
Right.
Yeah, well, how'd you approach that?
So one of the best ways to find features or ways to improve your product is to look at some of your competitors and filter down for some of their most negative reviews. So looking at your competitors' negative reviews will give you an understanding of what people are looking for with that product and what features you can add to your product to make it that much better.
Yeah, and so what you do is you find someone on Alibaba that has a similar product to what you're trying to sell, and you just say, hey, instead of it being light brown, can you make it dark brown? And they're probably gonna say, yeah, it might cost a little bit extra money. Or with Vino cards, we found someone, it was completely, they didn't have anything similar to Vino cards, but they had like flash cards. And I'm like, could you do it bigger with a more premium box? And can you put our designs on it? And of course they said, yeah. So that's the first thing. Alibaba is a really good way to do it. Some other ways to find manufacturers is Google. I hate to say this, just freaking Google it. So if you Google nut butter manufacturers, you could probably find the manufacturer that I used. Maybe not. Another thing you could do is contact different people that are selling products similar to yours and say, hey, do you do private labeling? So that's what I did actually at first with Performance Nut Butter, is I contacted every single nut butter company out there and said, hey, I'm looking to start up this business. Can you make this for me? I'll give you money. And I found someone that said, you know what? We don't normally do this, but we have a machine that's just sitting there half the time. Let's make some freaking money off this machine. And I'm like, cool, I'll give you some freaking money for this machine. Like let's do this. It's like a win-win situation. So that's another way to do it, but Google is your friend. Another thing you can use is Jungle Scout actually has a tool that will tell you who your different competitors, who their manufacturer is. And I'm sure you'll put a link in the description.
Link in the description below.
Yeah, click on his link if you're gonna sign up for Jungle Scout. He gets a little kickback and why not? So link down below, Jungle Scout, Alibaba, Google, and if you wanna find, there's also Thomas Net, something like that. I don't know if you've heard of that
Thomas Net, I think.
Yeah, something like that. I'm sure he'll put a link in the description down below. That is a service. I believe you have to pay for it, but then it has a list of all kinds of different manufacturers. Actually, one other tip, if you're looking for a manufacturer, figure out what kind of conventions and expos that your manufacturer would go to. Now, obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic, so there's not a lot of those. But if you look from previous years, for instance, Expo West in the food space is the biggest convention that there is. If you look on exhibitors for Expo West, you could probably find manufacturers that could make your product. So that's some of the different ways you find a manufacturer. Let's talk about contacting manufacturers. Do you have any tips? How do you contact a manufacturer?
When reaching out to suppliers on Alibaba, you want to make sure that you're coming across as a reputable seller. So don't waste any manufacturer's time and know the questions that you want to ask them up front.
I also recommend starting off by saying, hey, how much is it for 20,000 units, 40,000 units, 60,000 units? Like, that's what higher level sellers do, is they say, I'm looking to do multiple different numbers. And then what you can always say is, well, you know what, we're gonna start with a test run of 1,000 units, and that's gonna give you a little bit more respect. Because if you come and say, hey, how much is it to manufacture 50 units? They're gonna be like, I'm not gonna waste my time. So start off with the higher numbers. Don't totally lie to them. Don't totally waste their time. Get the reason you are actually getting those numbers because you hope to one day do it. So a lot of times I'll say, how much for 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, but try to get a number of different things, because most high level sellers aren't going in just saying, I want 5,000 units. How much is 5,000 units? They want to know where are the price breaks.
On that note, actually, if a supplier gives you a quote for 500 units at $10 a piece and you ask what the price would be at 1,000 units, maybe it'll be $5 a piece and you could save some money that way. What also helps when they give you a price that's lower for a bigger quantity is that you can use that price and ask them to lower the price on some of the lower quantities for a long-term relationship.
Yeah, don't be afraid to negotiate. This is something I haven't done historically a great job at, but that's something I'm looking to improve as I keep selling new products, is negotiating. And at the end of the day, you're not going to upset people. If you say, you said $10, this guy over here is going to do it for $8. Can you do it for $8 as well? Just try out some different tactics. But after you find a manufacturer, the next step with this is a big step actually, is you got to send over the wire or somehow pay them. How did you pay your guy?
So I used a credit card. A really good way to get credit card points actually is to use your credit cards for Amazon purchases. Yeah. And inventory, because it's such a huge cost, ends up being a really good way to earn points quickly.
So you're lucky. A lot of manufacturers won't accept credit card because you can always charge them back. So I've had to send wires, which is scary. But here's an interesting thing. I did do a video recently on my channel where I talk about getting scammed by my manufacturer, but generally speaking, it's extremely rare. I know almost nobody that's, I think I know one person that their account kind of got, it was a long story, but generally speaking, what you'll do is you'll send up 30% of whatever you're gonna be spending with this person, 30% of the bill, you'll send that up front so they can buy the material. Then they'll produce the product. Then you can hire someone for like $100 in China to go inspect, an inspector to inspect all the products. Then you send them the remaining 70%. And then you'd have to hire a freight forwarder. How did you do that part?
So the freight forwarder that I got was actually through my manufacturer. They already had a partner in place. So it was a little bit cheaper to just pay that all at once.
Oh yeah.
But freight forwarding is a really great option, especially if you want to hold your inventory a little bit closer to the Amazon warehouse versus having it all in China.
Yeah.
So let's just say we found our manufacturer, we have a couple quotes. How do we figure out how many units we want to make?
Yeah, that's a tough thing. What I'd recommend doing is ordering 3 to 6 months worth of inventory. For me personally, I go closer to that 6-month mark because I don't want to run out of stock. I know Michael had to deal with that, and it sucks running out of stock. Now, it's a little bit scarier when you're first starting because you don't want to order too much inventory on the flip side, because then you just got money that's sitting in your warehouse or sitting at your house just in inventory. You're not going to get that money back until you sell it. One thing I want to point out though that I think a lot of people overlook is it's very easy to get your money back, because let's say you buy a product that cost you $10 and you're selling it for $30, you're almost for sure going to make your money back, because worst case scenario, you could cut the price down to $15 a unit and just blow through your inventory. A lot of people are worried that, oh, what if I lose money? It's pretty rare. It's pretty rare unless you're just not following. If you're smart enough to be watching this video right now, you're probably not going to lose money on Amazon. You might break even, or maybe you lose $1,000, but generally speaking, you'll have a lot of inventory that you can discount and at least break even on. Yeah.
So after we have our products, what do we do for creating a listing?
This is another extremely important part of this entire process, and something that a lot of people overlook. You want to make your listing as absolutely amazing as possible. Remember, people can't physically hold your product if they're buying on Amazon. They don't know what it's like. They can't turn it around. So one of the first things you want to do is have a really good, high quality main image. And why this is so important is as people are searching on the search results and scrolling through the search results, the first thing that they're going to notice is the main image of your product. So one thing I recommend doing is cutting out as much white space around the image as possible. Now, you do need to have a white background. That's part of Amazon's guidelines, but also look at what angle should you show your product. Like if I show it like this, it's not as good as if I show it like this. And I can also, for my product, for instance, I took off the top and I show that there's individual pouches. It's very clear what my product is. Then some other things that you can do other than the main image is the title. Title is the second thing. One of the second things that people usually look at is the title. So you want to do a few things with the title, and this is where it starts to become an art and a science, and it starts to get a little bit complicated. Is with the title, you want to make sure that it's human readable, that humans are actually going to want to click on it. Share the benefits of your product and why your product's so amazing, but you also want to include keywords. And you want to talk a little bit about keywords and what those are?
Every single time someone searches something up on Amazon, that is a keyword.
Whatever they're searching in the actual search bar is the keyword you're trying to rank for.
And keywords are super important because that's how people are finding your products in the first place. They need to search a keyword up in order to see the products.
One of the biggest mistakes people make is they forget that Amazon is a search engine. And so, for instance, for my product, people might be typing in keto nut butter. And I need to make sure that keto nut butter appears in the title of my product, because that's how Amazon knows, oh, this product is a keto nut butter. If the title of my product was like Happy Fun Times, Grass Supplement, blah, 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 Amazon has no idea what my product's about. So you need to make it obvious for Amazon what it is. But the second part of that is, as I mentioned earlier, it needs to be something that humans will click on, because that's the other way that Amazon knows where to rank something is Amazon will show something in the search results, and if nobody clicks on it, it'll drop it down on the search results. Or if it's low on the search results and people are clicking on it, it'll bring it higher. So far we have the main image in the title, probably two of the most important things. Now, I will mention one other thing is reviews, which when you search on Amazon, the only things you see is the main image, the title, and the reviews. And reviews are super, super important, but we'll probably save that for step number 5 or step number 6. So the first things you should consider is, as I mentioned, main image, title. But then once someone actually clicks on your listing, and part of creating your listing is all the bullet points. In the bullet points, you have 5 bullet points where you can share the benefits of your product, not the features, the benefits. There's a big difference between features and benefits. So a feature would be 10 pouches, 10 1-ounce pouches. Cool. What's the benefit of having a 10 1-ounce pouches? Well, it's 10 on the go, perfectly formulated energy packs of high quality fat. That's a benefit. The benefit of this product is that it's gonna make you long lasting energy and make you feel great. The feature is 1 ounce of nut butter. Nobody cares about 1 ounce of nut butter. They care about the benefits. So make sure you hit the benefits, and also make sure you hit and include keywords in your bullet point. So I might say 10 ounces of keto nut butter that will make you feel amazing and give you long lasting energy. That's a lot more powerful than just saying 10 ounces of nut butter.
And that's a really great point, because when you're creating your listing for the very first time, when you're listing all of those benefits, you still want to make sure that you're hitting some of those most powerful keywords for your product.
Yeah, and it's that perfect balance between realizing that Amazon's just a computer. It's just a search engine you have to like hit it over the head with what your keywords are, but also remembering that humans are the ones buying your product. So the next thing you're gonna look at when setting up your listing is all the other images. Because you get, they keep changing it, but I think it's 9 images total. You have your main image plus 8 other images. How you use these images is very important. Like, what are you gonna do with these images? And again, this is where it becomes very important to make it so that the customer knows what it's gonna be like to own your product. You wanna give them the emotional experience of owning your product. How do you do that? Well, one thing you can do is show your product from multiple angles. That's a pretty easy, boring way to do it. Another thing you can do is show a comparison, your product versus a competitor, and show check marks on why your product is better. You can also show your product in action. How are people gonna use it? Like, I know with your product, you had professional photos showing how you can use this product and making it feel like a lifestyle product, making it show like how people can use it around their house.
Right, and it's really helpful to actually have people in your lifestyle images showing people how you can actually use this product. And seeing arms, seeing people just gives people that additional peace of mind knowing that it's made for them.
Yeah, and there's so many different things you can do. I show how to use my products. A lot of people, any question you get about your product, put it as an image whenever possible. Like your most frequently asked questions, put it as an image. People ask me, well, how do I use this product? And you can eat it. So I show a photo of someone eating it. You can blend it in coffee. You can do all these different things. And that also brings us to another part of creating your listing. And technically you do this part of creating your listing after you launch, but that's the questions and answers section. So what you can do, and this is a little gray area, is you can have friends ask questions about your product on your listing, all the most frequently asked questions, and you can answer them yourself. And that way, basically, any questions that your potential customers might have, they may be too scared to ask them in the listing. But if you have your friends already asking, like, hey, is your product keto friendly? Is it vegan? Is it what's the expiration date? And you answer all those questions right there. Then someone doesn't have to wonder, I want to buy that, but I don't know if it's vegan. They can look at the questions and answers. There's also the description, and there's enhanced brand content. Do you want to take enhanced into that stuff?
So in order to have enhanced brand content, which are bigger listings with big images, infographics, sometimes even videos, you need to have a trademark for your brand.
Yeah.
So that's why you would go to the USPTO, which is the Patent and Trademark Office, and register your trademark for your logo. Once you get that figured out, you can finally get access to enhanced brand content on Amazon, which will increase your conversions on your listing.
Yeah.
So let's just say you have your listing all set up. What do you do to launch your product?
Yeah, this is one of the most important parts, again, that so many people mess up. I've said this a lot already, but this is one of the top mistakes that beginner Amazon sellers make, is they launch to crickets. Don't do that. One thing you want to do, as I mentioned earlier, you want to have an email list, you want to have social media, you want to have a Facebook group, and what you're going to do is, leading up to the launch, you want to start letting them know. The reason that there's a line around the block for Star Wars is because they let people know months beforehand that, hey, this big thing that's really exciting is going to be coming out in 3 months. Then they say it's 2 months, 1 month. They start having the actors go on different talk shows. You want to do the same thing for your product. So leading up to the launch of your product, a month before, let people know the date so they can mark it on their calendar. Let them know that it's 6 in the morning, May 17th, this product is coming out. Then you want to let them know 3 weeks before. Give some kind of content. Say like, hey, some behind the scenes type content, or whatever. Share whatever you can. 2 weeks before, same thing. 1 week before, maybe start asking them some questions. Start saying, hey, here's what my Amazon listing is going to look like. Oh, what should my title be? What should my main image be? Like, get them engaged. And then 5 days before, 3 days before, the night before, hit it hard. Let everybody know tomorrow's the big day. Then the day of, send out an email that morning saying, oh my God, this is sales, it's open, go buy it. Then I recommend later that day on social media, on your Facebook launch group, on anywhere and everywhere you can, post again, letting people know how well you're doing. Because I guarantee if you've been following this process that you're doing well, and say, oh my God, it's only been 5 hours and we've already got 50 sales. Now, this part it's very important. And I will mention, I'll give a quick plug if it's okay. This is a big part I talk about in my course. It's the passion product formula. Hopefully we can put a wait list down below. I open it every few months or so. I open it and I usually limit how many students I have. And this actually is an important part of launching a product. You want to have some kind of scarcity. You want to let people know that, hey, you've only got so much time. And that's what I do with my course. I only open it for a week and then I close it. You want to do the same thing with your Amazon product. You want to say, hey everybody, it's normally $27.99. I'm discounting it to $19.99. Now, to be completely honest, even better scarcity is saying after this week, you can't ever buy it again. You can't do that on Amazon, obviously, because then that defeats the purpose. So I do that with the course because I can do that. I can get away with only opening it for a week. But if you're selling on Amazon, say $27.99 normal price, for 1 week only, it's $19.99. At the end of this week, it's going up to $27.99. So you better act fast. And what's gonna happen is half the people buy it like right the day that it opens because they're so freaking excited. It's like Star Wars. Half the people buy it right before it opens, but the other half the people are gonna buy it in the day or two before you spike up the price. So I always recommend the day before you raise the price, send out an email, post on social media, tomorrow's the last day, everybody get in on the discount. And then the next day, the last day, send out at least 2 emails, do at least 2 social media posts, let people know. Another advantage is if you can say there's only 200 units at $19.99 and then we're gonna up it, try to give some kind of reason that people need to act fast because we're lazy as humans. That's just how we are. If we know that we can get it a year from now, we're not gonna act quickly. So make sure and do that. That's part of the launch.
That's a really good point. So let's say you launch, you're doing your PPC, but you don't have any reviews. What gives people peace of mind to buy your product?
Yeah, so I honestly recommend, first off, if you followed all my advice so far, the people in your product launch group, the people following you on social media, the people on your email list, they're gonna be the first ones to buy your product and they're gonna leave you freaking reviews because they've been along for the journey. They're rooting for you. They're like, go Michael, like you can do, like we're so proud of you, you know? And what I'd recommend doing, this is a little bit of a gray hat thing, but find strangers, people that you've never used Wi-Fi with, people at the gym, people at work that you don't necessarily, I mean, work might not be the best, but people that you've never logged on to your Amazon seller account and that they've logged on to the same Wi-Fi with their personal Amazon account. Anywhere you can find people, be like, hey, will you buy my product and leave a review? And again, gray hat, you know, use at your own risk, but you can say, hey, if you buy my product and leave a review, I'll Venmo you the money, I'll PayPal you the money in exchange. I know a lot of people that have done this and had a ton of success. So if you followed my advice so far, you should have, I think in launching Performance Nut Butter, I got 75 reviews within the first week or 2. And when I launched cacao, it was around the same thing. My second product was a cacao performance nut butter. It's super easy to get reviews. I personally recommend not doing PPC until after you at least have 5 reviews. Another thing, there's the early reviewer program. I'm blanking on the name. Do you remember the name?
It's the early reviewer program.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Amazon, yeah.
Yeah, they have an early reviewer program. You pay a little bit of money and Amazon will help you get your first 5 reviews. So I highly recommend doing that if you're not following my advice, but I'd recommend instead just follow my advice and get a big email list. Get not friends and family per se, but loose acquaintances. Another thing, actually, I'll give you another tip. You can find influencers and you can say, hey, can you buy my, or hey, do you want my product for free? And they'll say, yes, of course I want your product for free. You tell them to buy it off Amazon and say as soon as they buy it to show you the receipt, and you'll Venmo or PayPal them the money. Then a week or 2 later, you can be like, yo, also can you leave a review, nudge, nudge. A tip on this is don't just ask people to leave a review, write out the review for them. You can say, hey, you can write whatever you want, or here's something that I already it's already been pre-written. I'm giving a lot of tips here. Another tip related to that is tell people it doesn't have to be anything fancy. A lot of people are nervous about leaving reviews because like, I don't want to have to write an essay. Just be like, 5 stars, great product. I tell people that and they're like, okay, and they end up writing a paragraph anyways. So like, don't make it hard for people. Make it as easy as possible for people to buy your product and leave reviews.
So let's say we got our first 5 reviews or so, and we're ready to start our pay-per-click PPC campaign. How would we go about doing that?
Yeah, so Amazon PPC, it's the pay-per-click as he mentioned, which means you pay money every time someone clicks on your ad. It's one of the quickest ways it's the quickest way to get to the top of the search results. And there's a lot, this is a big topic here. So as we already talked about, you want to get some reviews in my opinion. You want to have your Amazon listing optimized, because remember, you're spending money every time someone clicks on your ad. And so if you have a bad listing with not that many reviews, people aren't going to buy it. You're going to be wasting money. We'll link some, but we'll get some high level tips on this. But PPC, basically what you're doing is you're trying to figure out what keywords are going to be the most profitable for you. And the only way to really do this is to test. Now there is the automated Amazon PPC campaigns. You can use the automated campaign, which is super easy. I'll put that video. I have a video on how to set it up in literally 5 minutes. Super easy to set up. And once you start finding out what's working, double down on what's working. And when you try things out that don't work, get rid of them. So what are your thoughts on PPC?
So PPC, in my opinion, is one of the easiest ways to get ranked on page 1.
Yeah.
And that's really what I did with my first product. Was I pushed PPC extremely aggressively for the first few months. And by month 3, I was Amazon's choice for my top keyword. So It ended up working out for me.
That's an important thing to talk about though, is as you spend money on PPC and you start making sales through PPC, it's actually gonna help your organic rank, which is kind of crazy, but basically you can give money to Amazon and they're like, yeah, we're gonna help your organic rank out too. And the difference between paid and organic, just for anybody that's curious, paid is at the top of the search results. It says paid, sponsored, whatever on it. And then the organic is the non-paid results. And the way Amazon figures out where your listing should be in organic results is partially based on how much units you're selling. So by spending money on PPC, you're selling more units, and then you're gonna go higher up in the organic search results. It's a little shady of Amazon the way that they do it, but it works. Take advantage of it. It's a very smart strategy.
So we have our PPC campaign up and running. Let's talk about growing our business.
Yeah, so this is extremely important. Now, one thing I will mention before I go into depth about all this is at the end of the video, I'm gonna share, I've got like a 5 hours worth of free material and like a complete free Amazon course basically that I'm gonna be giving to you for watching this video. So stay till the end of this video and we'll link that. But let's talk about growing your business. Now there's a bunch of different ways to do this. One, you don't need to just grow on Amazon. You can start a Shopify store. My Shopify store does around $500 to $1,500 in sales a month, which is not nearly as much as it does on Amazon, but it's still pretty good. You can also look at influencers. You can look at different types of PPC like Google ads, Facebook ads. There's so many ways. Don't force yourself just to focus on Amazon. Another thing that I'll mention, I did a complete tutorial on this, is hire a virtual assistant. Don't do the boring stuff. Have your virtual assistant in the Philippines do the stuff that you don't want to do. They can do it for $2 to $3 an hour. Seriously, why are you doing something that you could pay someone $3 an hour to do? There's so many different ways to grow your business, but the most important thing to do is to actually get started. And that's why I have this completely free tutorial. It's 5 hours of information. And on top of that, if you sign up, I got a bunch of templates to help you get started. I'll hook you up with an accountability buddy and a mastermind. This is like my gift to the world, is this free Amazon course. So please click here to check it out. And thank you, Michael, for having me on.
Thanks so much to Travis for coming on, sharing all this wonderful knowledge with us. Please come back soon.
Yeah, and please click on the video. See you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.